like I do every day, I check my LinkedIn and I check different social sites. And on LinkedIn, it's a bit interesting because I'm basically thrown everything. Everything comes at me just like it comes at you. And on Monday, I noticed there was a career coach telling you this is the worst job market in 20 years, which is totally and utterly false. I saw another one saying, this is the worst round. These are the worst rounds of mass layoffs ever. You should be totally frightened and come and listen to me, or things of this nature. The Chicken Little sky is falling kind of stuff. And I am not saying that everything is rosy for everyone. I'm going to tell you a few things just to offer you some perspective because, as I mention all the time, no matter what's happening in any market, stock market, employment market, any kind of market, things will zig, things will zag, some will go up, some will go down, a lot will remain steady or flat-ish. And every month, I don't read a lot of headlines. Meaning I don't pay a lot of attention to the headlines, but I know a lot of people do, and they make judgments and determine their directions based on anecdotal nonsense that is nothing more than clickbait or somebody trying to sell you something. And so every month, I look through the 39-page report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and other places where I actually look at the charts, I look at the graphs, I look at the trends, I look at the breakdowns. And well, wouldn't you know, I did that recently. And I want to offer you some perspective on the market. And my intention in offering this to you is to put your nerves at ease, okay? It is not to tell you that everything is absolutely rosy, but it's also to explain to you why this market is exactly average. I couldn't think of a better word other than normal. Now, it may not seem like normal to you, and knowing the audience that's listening to me today, right now, or on a recording, I know a lot of you are job searching. And job searching in any market is awful. It's painful, it's confusing, it's lonely, it stinks. And I know that there are certain areas and industries that are not doing well. But let me offer you some more what I would call harder evidence, not headlines. Cool? Now, one of the things that I do is I look for macro level and micro level trends so that I can help people, guide people. When people ask my opinion about direction or pursuits and things like that, I want to be knowledgeable. So I make sure that I study up on this stuff. And when I say that this market is average, what I mean, it may not be, your situation may be great or it may be poor. But in general, at a macro level, it is not quite the melee that the media or many other career coaches would make you think that it is. And what makes me say that? Well, when you look at the number of job openings that are out there publicized, those job openings it's roughly about 7.7 million, which in Andy math means there's 38.5 million jobs, because the publicized jobs are only 20% of all job openings. So you got nearly 40 million open jobs. I'm not kidding. That's a pretty good number. And you've got about 7.1 million unemployed people. And the unemployed people is determined based on survey data called the household data or the establishment data. They're both pretty good surveys that gather insight. And of the 7.1 million people that are unemployed looking for a job, 1.5 of them, so 20% of those people, have been unemployed for a very long time, meaning over 27 weeks. They're included in the data. And there are some individuals who are not included in the data who might have been unemployed for some portions of the last 12 months, but if they have not sought employment in the last 4 weeks, based on the data, the surveyed data, they wouldn't show. So let's just say it's even a bigger number than that, but it's not that much bigger. Go with me on this. That's pretty imbalanced. Now, the unemployment rate is 4.1%. In the last 12 months, the unemployment rate has been between 4.0 and 4.2. Those are relatively historical lows on the lower end of all data gathered of all time. There were, let's see, what other numbers might be important. The labor participation rate, 62.4%, is historically average. The number of people that were hired last month, 5.4 million. The number of people that were separated, 5.3 million. The number of people that quit their job last month, 3.3 million. The number of people that were actually quit, or I should say quit, was 3.3 million. The number of people that were laid off was 1.6 million. Does that sound like a lot? Does 1.6 million people being let go sound like a lot? Go ahead, go in the chat. Tell me if you think that's a lot. Sounds like a big number to me. But let's put that number in perspective. And before I do, since I was running late and my tea hasn't steeped, here we go. But 1.6 million, sound like a lot? Would it surprise you to know that for all time, every month, the average number of people that are laid off falls between 1.9 and 2 million people per month? But you might never hear of that. That happened in 2005, 6, 7. Right? So you think it's a big number. Why do you think it's a big number? It's actually 300 or 400,000 a month less than a historical average. But why does it feel like a big number? It is normal. It's lower than normal. Do you know what the lowest recorded number of layoffs was in a given month at any moment in time? 1.287 million, June 2021. Is the lowest ever. So we're right in the middle of the lowest ever and historical average. So I want you to understand that I just want you to know this, that I only say this to you to help give you some perspective that it's not the end of the world. Also, I jotted these down too. If you are in healthcare, financial services, transportation, warehousing, social assistance, your numbers are going up. Night before last, I met with a guy who was going into his final interviews the next day, yesterday, for a very, very top dog position in transportation. Hundreds of thousands of dollars this guy will earn. And I'm seeing it. If you are in the federal government, well, we know those numbers are going down. We know that federal funding is also affecting employment sporadically. But we also know that if you're in retail or business or professional services or a number of these other ones, oil and gas, construction, you're flat. You're flat. So, and when you're flat, what happens is, what did I just get done saying? 5.4 million people got hired, 5.3 million people got let go or quit. Pretty imbalanced, pretty average, right? So I'm telling you this just so when you're swiping on LinkedIn and you're seeing and hearing the sky is falling, that's nonsense. Now, some of you are going to say, well, Andy, I'm in tech and tech is in the toilet. Well, I got some data on that too. Well, when you look at the labor statistics breakdown, and they have the household data, they have the establishment data, and the household data will break it down by demographic too. It'll break it down by industry and so on. And they don't actually have a classification for technology. They don't lump technologists that way. There are technologists that work for financial services firms. There are technologists that work for healthcare firms. There are technologists that work for software companies. There are technologists that work for professional services companies and so on. So it's kind of scattered. So tech data has to be extrapolated from other surveys that are run by other people to write articles like the Wall Street Journal that published that 5.7% of the tech labor force is unemployed. So I wanted to look to see, well, how those were classified, what actually is considered tech. And much of those tech positions were lowest level programming, reporting, admin, clerical, very, very much the lower end of the tech spectrum. And I'm not saying that can't hurt executives because units can get knocked out. But the point is that tech is going through a shift. And tech has gone through several shifts in my entire life. I mean, there were punch cards, then there was programming for me, and you were doing that on a system that was contained, captive, or intranetted, so to speak. And then there was client server, then there was internet and cloud computing and so on. And as we go through these waves and transitions, yeah, there's some pain and people need to retool. And other advancements in technology enable us to re-engineer processes or omit them entirely. And we're going through some of that right now. And that has ripple effects. I'm not saying that I don't feel for you if you're in technology, but in tech, and the reason this is such a big deal is because typically technology is insulated from these market gyrations primarily because the world runs on technology. And historically, we don't see a lot of technologists unemployed. So this becomes great news. It enables the media to scare you. And I'm telling you that my calendar is filled. I can't get enough people scheduled who have interviews and need their help with salary negotiations. The jobs are out there if you're doing the right things and you're searching the right way. Yeah, it might be tougher, right? The leisure and hospitality people right now, it's actually flat. But remember in COVID, right? That was really rough. Well, tech's got its time now, but it tends to be skewed. You can't just look at a headline and say, well, 5.7% of people are unemployed, because that's not entirely true. And not all technologists are created equal. So if you really look under the hood, or you want to read the 39 pages, or you want to read all the other charts and graphs and other things that I look at, be my guest. But I'm here to tell you, don't bother and trust that if you work the process, I'm telling you there are jobs out there to be had. Okay? So this is my little pep talk to say it's not as bad as the media is making it sound. It's not as bad. The sky isn't falling. And yes, some people are taking bumps and bruises, but then again, this is life. It's not fair, and that's going to happen. What you do with it is going to have a big time effect on your results, meaning how you handle it, how you process it. And I know I'm totally going to butcher this, but this is one of the things I always think about from Marcus Aurelius, one of the 5 Caesars. And I know I'm not going to get his quote exactly right, but the impediment that's put in front of you is what incites the action you take, meaning you need the impediment to act. And the impediment is the way, it's the route, it's the path that you're going to go through. And so if you're searching for a job right now, I want you to take it on as a challenge, but I want you to gain the benefits of the experience of you going through it. Why is this happening? What is happening? Can you take advantage of learning new skills? Can you meet new people? Do you have a fresher perspective? And are you going to be more grateful for the jobs that you have, or the money that you earn, or the people that you work with? Just think about that. So anyway, from time to time, I like to give you updates on my interpretation of the employment market. And anybody that wants to have a conversation, you better come armed with some stats. Not that, the world doesn't like old people, or the world doesn't like young people, or, they don't like the color of my skin, or I can't believe I wasted 4 years on this degree. None of that. You are where you are. The world doesn't care about your past. What you do with your present is what will make you all the time. Cool? All right, that's my thoughts on that.